Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Heidi here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Heidi Lynne Kurter, and I am a workplace culture consultant, a leadership coach, senior contributor for Forbes, domestic violence mentor, and many other things. So I am so excited about today's video. I have been receiving a lot of inbox messages, people reaching out to me, asking me, Heidi, can you please help me? How can I create a more diverse culture? How can I make my employees feel included? And this is such a hot topic right now, especially with the climate of what's going on right now in the world and what has been going on, especially with the protests with George Floyd, and just among other things, right? So right now, a lot of people have been reaching out to me, and I thought, what better time than to release a YouTube video to talk about it? So I'm going to talk about how you can cultivate a workplace culture that inspires diversity and inclusion. I'll be releasing some tips, and one of the points that I talk about, I'm actually going to touch upon briefly in today's video, but in an upcoming video, I'm going to drill down on it more, and I'll explain that when I get to that point, and I'm sure you can understand why. But if you haven't already, please click subscribe so you don't miss any future videos that I release. You do not want to miss any of the videos that I put out there. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, to cultivate that culture of diversity and inclusion, it involves education. Education first and foremost, right? And that can be through trainings, conferences, courses, books, discussions, anything like that. There's actually a company out there that started this, it's a diversity game, and it's called I am dot dot dot, but I am not. And an example of that was used in an MIT study game, I think. It was someone had used the example of I am Asian, but I am not good at math. And as we all know, the stereotype around Asians is that they excel at math. Math is their thing, right? So this Asian had done this part of the game, and they wanted to dispel this stereotype and say, hey, listen, I am Asian, but I'm not good at math, and I actually don't like math. So that's how harmful stereotypes can be, because people are already judging him based on who he is, and they create this idea in their head of like, oh, well, he's Asian, he must be good at math. And really, he probably hates math. Maybe he just does not care about it, doesn't put in any effort towards it, doesn't like it, isn't good at it, whatever. But that's just one stereotype, one belief, one idea of many, right? There are so many different things that we have, and I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I'm sure you have some popping into your head right now. And this diversity game, or maybe courses and workshops and books, it's a great way to inspire a discussion around these stereotypes, around the climate of the world right now, around what's going on. And it's to educate yourself on unconscious bias, because believe it or not, we all are biased, and we're unaware of it. And I know that I have biases within me that I'm working on as well, because they impact whether you're a manager, a leader, whatever. They impact other people's lives, especially in HR, because believe it or not, when we look at someone's name, when we look at their age, when we look at where they're from or their background, there's these judgments that happen inside of us, and we don't try to do it intentionally, but that's why it's called an unconscious bias. So education around unconscious bias will help you become more aware of that bias so that you can be more unbiased, especially in the interview process or how you treat your team, so that there's no favoritism towards one person over the other. Another thing is creating a safe space. You want your employees to feel like they can speak up, like their voices feel heard, especially employees that feel that, especially minority employees, right? Too often, and we've all seen this, we've all heard a story, whatever the case is there has been someone that has been retaliated against or ignored for speaking up for the injustice that they have been facing. And this doesn't only happen in the workplace, this happens in every single instance throughout the world. I've seen, I've read articles about landlords not granting apartments for minorities, giving it to whites over minorities, people at grocery stores profiling, like managers profiling minorities, not the white people. Again, we can go on and on about how this exists in our world today. So it's in the workplace, you want to create that safe space, and you want to hear and listen to your employees' concerns and take them seriously. If they're being mistreated, that's not okay. It's absolutely not okay. And they need to feel valued. They need to feel a part of the workplace. And in order to feel a part of the workplace, they need to feel comfortable going and reporting an incident or a concern and knowing that it's going to be taken seriously and they won't potentially lose their job or be retaliated against or ignored for speaking up about what they're facing and dealing with. So, creating that safe space is making your employees feel valued and heard. And it's also asking for feedback, asking the hard questions. A lot of companies, the biggest challenge that they face is they don't want to admit that they have injustice in their workplace. And because they don't want to admit that, they perpetuate the racism and the sexism and everything else that occurs in their workplace, and it contributes to this toxic environment that gets out of control. And we've seen this, and we're seeing this right now in the news with many, many different companies. So yeah, you want to seek feedback, take the feedback seriously, ask the hard questions, have those difficult conversations, open up discussions around sensitive topics. A lot of companies shy away from talking about what's going on in the world, especially when it involves race, right? They have a very difficult time doing that because they fear, oh, it will create a divide in the workplace. But by not having those sensitive conversations, you are actually creating the divide in the workplace because you are ignoring the injustice that is happening in the world and in potentially in your workplace. You are not allowing your employees' voices to be heard. So you need to be having those difficult conversations. It's going to be very, very uncomfortable. And that's the point. Because in order to bridge that divide, you need to get uncomfortable and you need to ask those hard questions. You need to have those sensitive conversations. And it's up to leadership and managers to make sure that those conversations are kept as respectful as possible. And I'm not saying shutting people down, but I'm saying don't allow racist comments to happen. Don't allow people to try to gaslight others. Don't allow abuse. Allow minorities to speak up, allow them to give feedback, allow them to make their voices feel heard and share their experiences of what's happening inside of your workplace and even outside of the workplace. This will allow other individuals to start to gain perspective of what their minority coworkers have to deal with. And I'm not saying this is going to be an earth-shattering movement that's going to happen like that. No, some people it takes time for it to sink in and digest. Right? So having those sensitive conversations is a great way to bring more inclusion into the workplace and allow other people to gain perspective of what minority employees have to go through inside and outside of work. You cannot make changes if you don't have those difficult conversations. You can't. The other thing is transparency. A lot of companies, as I said, don't want to admit their shortcomings. And that is the biggest problem. Companies should be talking openly about their goals, their shortcomings, the progress that they made, their vision, what they aspire to be like. By talking about those and including employees in on the process, they are allowed to gain feedback from their employees of maybe things that they're overlooking and they're not seeing. And furthermore, they're allowed to, by doing so, even by voicing shortcomings, right? Employees that are actually in the deep of it can provide solutions and say, hey, listen, I think this is what we need to do. This is what I'm going through. This is what has happened to me. And this has been my experience. Why don't we try this? And they are able to offer a perspective, a solution that might not have been thought of otherwise. So why not be transparent about it? Everyone has shortcomings. Everyone has shortcomings. Own up to them. Be transparent. You never know which one of your employees can offer a solution that can help the company for the better. Lastly, this is the point that I'm going to come back to in a future video, but it's really about the selection and the application process. There's a lot of unconscious bias. There's a lot of things hidden in job descriptions on company websites, social media profiles that repel diverse candidates, that repel people that are quality people, that are well suited for the job and attract a certain type of person. And so this is such an in-depth process, but there's things hidden. Maybe it's the language you use, the pictures that you use, whatever the case is. Your application and selection process is riddled with things that maybe only attract a white man, maybe push away women, maybe only attract white people, maybe only attract younger people, maybe only so I could go on and on with this, and I'm going to tackle this in an upcoming video. So again, let me just go over the points that we talked about, because this is a lot, right? So first and foremost, you want to start with educating yourselves. Leadership, management, entry-level employees, contractors, every single person that works for you should be educated. Nobody should be above being educated. There have been companies where I have heard that leaders are like, I don't need to attend the training. I'm fine. I know everything in it. No, everyone needs to attend the trainings. Everyone needs to be educated. That is the problem. If HR, anyone lets an individual slide and not attend a training, you are contributing to a toxic culture, and that keeps your workplace further divided. Next, you want to create that safe space. Ask the hard questions, have the difficult conversations, seek the feedback, do something about it. Then you want to celebrate. We didn't even take time. I'll come back to this in a future video. Next, we want to do a transparency. Be transparent about your goals, about your progress, about your shortcomings. You never know which employee or employees can offer up a solution that can transform your workplace for the better. Then we also have the application and selection process. Application and selection process, it's riddled with language and things that are repelling diverse candidates and attracting undiverse candidates, right? To put it simply. So I'm going to go over that in a future video, as well as another bonus point. So again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss any future videos, and you'll get the bonus point as well, as I talk about the application and selection process. So I will talk to you later. Bye.